There we go. Welcome here to Talk GP. This is our special Red edition. Today is obviously a very busy day, so we're not going to keep you for too long. As we advertise, I've got Paul Smith with me today. You can see we've sort of kind of stuck to the theme. I've got red. Paul's even wearing his red shirt. I own black. I must confess, I don't own red. I couldn't, no matter how deep I dig in my cupboard. But yeah, we're not going to keep you too long today. So Paul, say hi to the people.
How's it, everybody?
Paul's here. He's broadcast audio. I'm going to ask him some questions. We've spoken about it. We're going to make it a bit of a series over the next couple of months. Once a month, bring him in and we'll tackle specific things. And today we're going to do a bit of a loose conversation about what makes broadcast audio, in terms of a skill set and a designation perspective, so much different to a live scenario. I know he's very passionate to talk about comms. If I say the word comms, his little brain goes like that. But it is something that, I mean, like with us live guys, fancy console and microphones, and our brains go wobble. So from my perspective, one thing we spoke about just now, which I want you to bring up a bit, is I know that in live we've got a front of house guy, we've got a monitor guy, we've got a stage tech, we've got an RF tech, we've got backline guys. In broadcast, there's a lot of similarities in terms of some of the functions, but you guys have got a different language that you speak. So the one question I'm going to start with is, someone tells me Paul's the audio guarantee. Does that mean you guarantee like everything's going to be perfect, or what does that mean? And then step it down from there, what the other roles are that you would oversee. Okay,
so audio guarantee is effectively the person that's guaranteeing the audio system.
So not necessarily the sound, but the infrastructure.
Not necessarily the sound, but the infrastructure around the broadcast.
Okay.
So are your signals coming in? Are they getting 2 faders for your mixer? Are they working? Have you got the right people in the right place to fault find all those little...
Where does the chain end?
Okay, so you basically start off with a audio guarantee, and in a lot of cases in South Africa, audio guarantees are also the sound supervisors or the sound mixers.
So the guy sitting behind the desk.
The guy sitting behind the desk.
Okay, so like a team leader or an HOD on the van.
Yes. But up to the point that the show is about to go or rehearsal's about to start, he's involved with everything, overseeing where everything's patched, make sure everything's working, everybody's getting their feeds they need. Mm. Then you have an assistant, senior assistant, that could potentially sit down and take over a mix.
Operating, yeah.
Should the main mixer need to pop out for a coffee or a
bathroom
comfort break or
whatever,
something like that.
Or even assist.
Even assist. On the big shows, you can end up having 2 people sitting at a console. Then you get grams operators that would sit and often assist the mixer in applause, background music.
Well, rewind a bit. What is grams? Where does that acronym come from?
Okay, so grams is it's basically anything that can be played in underneath, audio-wise, underneath or as a feature track.
So it's not something coming into the van, it's something that
something in the van that you've already got.
Okay.
So it's on a playback system.
That's saying like a bed. A bed would be like a piece of music playing underneath, yes, like an MC talking.
And often in television, they all talk about bubble.
Oh, yeah.
So bubble it. So you want it just underneath.
Just like instead of having just nothing or like a white noise, you have a bit of a texture.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So
something that we can't really do in a live environment because of in a live environment, when like an MC or a CEO of a company is speaking, we generally end up being a speaking voice in a room. You'll end up at about 76 dB SPL. And then if you still put a bubble under that, to get it loud enough to hear what it is, you don't have enough separation for clarity on the vocal. So we tend to, like, you'll walk him in and you'll just fade it out and die it. Whereas
Yes.
with broadcast, because you're working with loudness, you can preset a level and then find a nice spot,
Yes.
and you can have that feeling right through. Yeah.
And you can create a feeling around the show with that.
Yes.
Then you land up with an assistant / jumpman.
Okay.
So they generally sit in the van. They got a good idea. They know every single patch point on the truck, where everything's connected, where all the outboard gear is situated.
Mm.
And he's literally the guy that you say
Run.
it's. And if he's a really good jumpman, he's heard the crackle
Then he's already on it.
and he's already on it. He
Yeah.
knows what's going on.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about that. He might call through a patch change because he's found a problem.
Mm.
And that's where working as a team,
So he's like on a wireless comms, so he can run,
yeah,
or on a radio. or
radio, generally a radio, so
Yeah.
he can move.
something. Okay.
Then you got your normal audio assistants. They're the guys that are backstage or
So
on
your audio crew, basically.
your audio
So they're
crew,
running your cables, they're putting your mics up, they're doing that kind of stuff.
putting mics on presenters.
IFB. What does IFB stand for?
IFB, interrupted fallback. If you take the live term, it's basically a monitor mix,
In-ear monitor mix. Yeah.
in-ear monitor mix, but it's got the possibility that you can talk over it from
Yes.
the comm system. So you inject it into the comm system,
So the director can speak to them.
the director can speak to them, and generally,
So, generally we send them like a mix of what they want to hear, their own mic, the music, all that
Yes.
kind of stuff. But then anybody, well, not anybody, but yourself or the director or the
production is.
key and speak to
Yes.
it.
Now, a little trick I use with it,
Mm.
if I'm doing an interview on a soccer field at the end of a match, crowd's going mad, and the presenter hasn't got the mic technique that you need, or
Yes.
they're too soft. But you're sending their own mic back to their earpiece. Turn their send down to their ear,
Yeah,
and they automatically speak up or pull the mic closer.
yeah.
And when they're interviewing somebody, if they're holding it far, same thing, and you
Turn
suddenly
it down so that, yeah,
so you mess with their heads,
yeah.
but
Because they hear themselves, and when they go like this, they want to hear the same thing,
Yes.
so they'll go closer.
so it's little things like that that you learn over time.
Yeah.
And then, so those assistants, they need to also be on top of their game. So if
So
you,
those guys would need to know layout.
yes,
They need to know how the mics work, how the RF works, how
Yes.
how the packs work, how the earpieces work,
yes,
how to tape them. Because I know when you do like normal sports and stuff, it's not always about glamour because the guys are wearing odd stuff. But when you do like TV shows or music
you don't want to
production,
see it.
you don't want to see it.
Yeah,
It's got to be nice and tidy and neat. So it's not like just tape on the cheek
yes.
type thing. Yeah.
And then also it comes down to they need to know where and what area they're responsible for. So that comes back to your crew leader, HOD, that guy that sits right at the top.
Okay, so let me ask you this now. Why are you saying that? Because I'm trying to figure them out. So you've got a team of potentially 8 to 10 people.
On a soccer match, you do it with 4.
4. But you
Four.
just said there's 3 in the van. So there's 1 oak outside.
No, on a soccer match, you've got your main guy,
Yeah.
who's the crew leader, HOD mixer.
Operator. So there's 1 oak in the van.
Yes, you've got an assistant.
Yeah.
You've got an assistant on the field,
Yeah.
and you've got an assistant in commentary.
Yeah, okay. So your field is where the mics are, so they
Yes.
can go and check mics. Your one can check with the commentators. And there's not just one commentator, depending on the language. So that brings up another question.
Yes,
You're doing English, Afrikaans, Xhosa, Zulu,
yes.
and other language, Sesotho or something. And what do you do? Because all those coming, I'm watching TV, and on the DSTV or whatever, I can choose which channel I want to listen to. So you sending individual feeds out to the broadcaster,
Yes.
but how do you label those, or do you send like a main mix, like
Okay.
a left and right mix?
So there's a few standards that go around, but generally in South Africa, your 1 and 2, channel 1 and 2, or your first pair going out, is your main broadcast mix.
It's
So
like everything happening.
yes, so that will generally be your English commentary, with effects, with interviews, with studio, every
I'm
single
going to
piece.
pause you again there because now I see a live guy. When
Okay.
you say effects, I'm thinking reverbs and delays
No,
and echoes.
not-
When you say effects,
I'm talking
crowd effects.
crowd effects or field effects,
Yeah.
because
To try and bring the viewer into that situation.
yes, because my objective sitting behind that console is I need to take you sitting in your lounge and put you in that soccer stadium
Yeah.
or in that concert. I need to try and create that feel. It's pointless be having somebody speak that you can't see
Exactly.
unless it's a commentator.
Yeah, if you got the jib camera like sweeping over the crowd and you bring that mic in and the little kids screaming and clapping, it's not like prominent, but you
Yes.
can hear it's happening and it sort of contextualizes the whole
Yes,
thing.
and it brings everything
That's
together.
your effects mics. Yeah.
Yes. So then your second one would be what we call TV international sound.
Okay.
So that would carry all your effects, field of play, crowd effects. If it's an international event, it's got logos. All that bed music from the logos and everything will be in there. And everything in vision.
Okay.
So if you've got a presenter that suddenly pops up on camera,
You got to have that on there.
you've got to have that. But if he's not on your transmission line, his mic could be used for something else.
For the local commentary or something.
Yes, but it's not part of your
So
TV international.
So you do
sound.
that because they use their own commentators?
Yes. So
Okay.
if you sell your program to, say we do a game in South Africa and we're playing against the UK, they want a clean international sound, so they can put their British commentators sitting in the UK, sitting in a truck next to you that you're giving a feed to,
Yeah.
that they can then build this.
Yeah, they want to
Show.
do their own texture and their own show. Yeah.
But instead of having 50 effects microphones on the field of play, you've only got 18
yeah.
because you're the host and
But
you
that's your framework for
and
everybody.
you give it to everybody.
Yeah. Okay.
Then on your others, depending on what the requirements are, because it changes from show to show, it could be stereo Afrikaans with commentary, Zulu with commentary, Xhosa with commentary. You could put all those in on your lower stems.
So you're doing a whole bunch of mixed minuses.
Not necessarily full mixes,
Okay. So
because,
you're doing group sends or bus sends.
yeah, main bus scenes.
Yeah.
Basically main bus scenes. And then you have to switch through your monitoring constantly
To listen to all of them, obviously.
to all of them. And I know we don't mix to meters. Okay, but when you've got
that much going.
that much going at a time,
But what happens if you're busy on English and one of the commentary mics on Xhosa starts crackling and you're not listening to it?
there's people listening everywhere in the truck,
Into different
different
Okay,
streams.
so everything is somewhere
Somewhere
being
somebody's-
either on the tailboard or something like
Yeah,
that.
and like when I do a big show like that, my Jumpman audio assistant in the truck, he's sitting
Behind you.
at the back with a selector, and his job is
Slick,
click, 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 click,
the whole
as-
time, yeah.
and he calls attention to these things.
Yes.
But another thing that you do is the commentary is integrated into the comms.
Okay.
So the commentator can push a button and speak to you off air
Yes.
through your comm system.
Yeah.
Now the
So what we'll do in one of our other episodes is there's some hardware elements within
Yes.
an OB system which we don't use. There's some of the comm elements that are starting to come into our productions because
Yes.
the productions are getting more complicated, even if there isn't an OB van there. I mean, generally
Yes.
comms was just the lighting guy with 2 follow spots and maybe a show caller on
Yes.
stage or something like that. These days, you've got your text on stage. We run elaborate talkback systems and all that. And I know that when you come in, we normally link you into our talkback system
Yes,
and even take some of our mics into your comm system.
yes,
back and then bring you back into our talkback system, so that you don't have to sit with multiple systems in the van. You've got your comm panel, and
Yes.
you're hearing our talkback system on your comm panel, and you can speak back to us.
Yes.
You know,
So because also in a lot of cases I sit in a sometimes more controlled environment,
yeah, the little crackles and the crickles.
and then I can push one button and say, guys, are you aware I'm picking up there's a crackle on that? And then everybody hears it,
Yeah,
and monitors will say, we're aware of it, we're chasing it. And that's it. You don't have to worry about it. You know somebody's working on it. It's noted.
yeah. Because also you've got that line when you're working with a production team. You've got your crew and they've got their crew. At some point they overlap a very little bit, but your crew's not going to run to your stage, and my crew's not going to run to your tailboard.
Yes.
Okay, well, I might, but
Yeah. But also,
but there has to be, like you said earlier, there's got to be an understanding of what your roles and responsibilities are. I know, for example, when we do MCs, they generally use our microphones because we got to get them on the PA.
yes.
But the IFB in-ear systems come from you, so they
Yes.
can be in your comm system.
And then generally what we do is we'll take ownership or possession of the MC microphones,
Check the batteries.
and we keep the batteries down, we make sure
Stick
they're
an
pop
ugly pop filter
shields, all that sort of stuff.
Big yellow tape with a name on that we don't
Yeah,
like.
horrible stuff like that. Or if I'm doing it, I like the Zenaza ones because they've got that little foam.
Oh, the little ring.
Little ring.
Because that's the thing on camera. When you sit and you watch camera, having a visual cue for what you're
Yes.
working with helps. Because sometimes they swap.
Yes.
You know, it does help.
So all those elements come in together. Then it also changes. Now that's on the sporting side.
Yeah.
Now you do a news event. News event, you got studios,
Yeah, you're not in an OB.
or you in an OB because you're sitting at Gallagher or Santon Convention Centre, but you've got a makeshift studio at the back of the conference hall, and the conference is going. Then you've got a floor feed coming into you.
Which is everything happening on the stage.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you got all your translations. So you could bring in 7 different translations. And those all need to be fed out in a specific order on the embedders.
So that the ICR
yes,
can pick off what they're sending where.
yes. Or say...
So yeah, okay, let me throw this one quickly at you. I know guys watching, we keep throwing acronyms out there. ICR, MCR, PRP, I don't know.
Okay.
What is ICR?
International Control Room,
MCR.
Main Control Room.
What else is there?
There's...
What do you call the link? Or we call it link fans, but it's all
uplinks,
Yeah,
the
uplinks.
SNGs.
SNG. There we go.
SNGs.
Yeah.
There's
What is SNG?
satellite news gathering.
There we go. So that'll normally be your little dish van that parks next to you.
Yes.
You give him an embedded feed, or don't. You give him video and audio, and he
No,
lines up.
We used to do it that way.
Yeah.
Now we give him embedded,
Okay. So that he
And-
can't make a oops.
or he can still make a oops. But then,
Because he's also responsible for routing on the uplink as well, on what pairs go where, or is that just as it's embedded from you?
in Utopia, we give them a feed. They
And-
put it on the satellite. They don't touch it,
Yeah.
because how can I guarantee something as the audio guarantee engineer if there's somebody else fiddling with it?
Yes. So if you give him audio and you give him video and you get him to put it all together,
Anything
it's
can
another
happen.
point of potential
Yes.
breakdown.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I do the lineups with MCR or RCR. So a lineup is you get a tone level, set tone level, lineup level in South Africa,
Neg 18.
neg 18 dBFS
Yeah.
at 1K tone. And then you can have ident units, which has a voice that comes in and says, this is the English track, this is the vernacular track, this is the international sound. If you're not that lucky, you sit on the phone or on the comm system
And you manually switch them
and
on and off.
you talk to the guys at ICR, I am sending you English, are you getting it? Yes, I'm getting it. and you identify it.
Yeah, left, right,
Left,
the
right.
different pairs and all that.
I'm sending you those two. Please check your
and then
phasing.
if there's a discrepancy in level, do you fix it or do they fix it?
You generally don't fix it at the truck.
Because I mean, you, as far as you're concerned, you're sending NEC 18.
Yes, but also I've got a full recording chain that's all calibrated
To that.
to that.
So if you're
in
going
my
to make
truck.
an adjustment, you're throwing your whole van out.
I throw my whole truck out.
Okay, so if there's a discrepancy between left and right, or between different
Yes.
feeds, they've got to adjust on MCR side.
Or first thing I do is I put all my tones up and I go to the SNG truck because I can see it.
Mm.
And you check that it's correct in the SNG.
Mm.
Yes, it's correct in the SNG. MCR, no, it's not correct. MCR, please correct. We've checked our side.
Because sometimes what happens, and what I've experienced with MCR, is the guy goes, there's something wrong. And then he tries to make it your problem. Meanwhile, he did an adjustment for someone else on another feed last week.
Yeah.
On that particular patch. Now he comes back in and there's an offset on his side, which he thinks is a problem.
Yes.
So when you tell him, then please fix it, and he goes, oh, okay, sorry.
Yes.
He won't admit it, but
Yeah.
he goes, oh yeah, it's right now.
Yeah. And nobody's done anything.
And nobody's done anything, yeah.
So,
Because they check phasing as well. That's very important.
yes.
Okay. So, I mean, it's quite... So, when you say audio guarantee, from source into van, capture, distribution in van,
Yes.
comms fall under you? Not always?
Not always.
So, when you say... the reason I'm going not always, because I know, for example, that with some of the broadcasts, I'm not going to try not mess some of the OB companies in the
Yes.
country, comms I know is in audio, other ones it's in engineering.
Yes.
Why? What would be the reasoning for that? Is it workload? Is it technical? Why do they separate that out?
Okay, the international standard is it makes a noise, it's audio. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the international standard.
Yeah.
What has happened in South Africa in the past is the video boys are the gamer boys.
Yeah, they get all the recognition.
The audio guys are the guys forgotten. So we always begging, can we please have an extra crew member just to make a show happen? And we haven't even looked at supplying a full comm system yet.
Yeah. So when you
So if I need to supply a full comm system, I need an extra 3 guys.
yeah.
But on most South African broadcast trucks, you open them and 4 video engineers fall out.
Yeah, that's just
So-
from the leftover from the last show.
You've got guys sitting around doing nothing.
Yeah. So
Comms is yours.
comms is yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Because I
then,
know that I've experienced this before on one of the consoles where we did some patching and stuff, but then the engineer at the back has got access to the CPU of the desk,
yes.
and then he undoes some of your patching because he's trying to sort out comms.
Yes.
You know, it's like, stop fiddling with my stuff. You know,
Yeah.
There shouldn't be like Oak sitting on the other end of the van messing with the I/O of the console I'm busy working on.
It comes down to discipline because also the trucks are very integrated nowadays.
Mm.
So you got VSM, which is Virtual Studio Manager.
Mm.
That
Gives you
drives
access into everything.
GPRs, tele lights, video routing, audio routing. You can drive every single aspect of the truck almost. In the SABC trucks, for example, you can even adjust the gain on the console from
From
a
that.
VSM panel.
Mm.
So it comes down to responsibility.
But if a guy doesn't understand the system properly, he shouldn't be fiddling
He
with
shouldn't
us.
be in there
You shouldn't
because
get access. Because it's not just open access. You've got to know how to get into that system.
yes, but what some of the guys do is, okay, it's working. Now they one of the guys that are monitoring, waiting for a issue, that sort of stuff, and now they get bored. And they sit and they start playing on their control panel. Oh, what does this do? And you suddenly start. So that's where discipline comes in.
Yeah. I mean, I've tried to figure out those panels. I get lost after the 3rd page. I don't know
Yeah.
where I am anymore.
But that being said, that's when it goes from a family show to R21, not even R18. Because I throw my toys.
Yeah. Well, the thing
Big
is,
time.
you're the audio guarantee.
Yes.
And, you know, basically someone's pulling the rug out from underneath you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what happened in the past, and depends who I'm working with. Is the guys know the level that I operate
where
at?
they need to get to, yeah.
And some of the guys just tell me there's a network point. I'll pull out my laptop, plug it in, and
Do your own thing,
I'll
yeah.
tell them, right, guys, comms is ready. Even though I'm not looking after comms. Comms is 90% ready. Can you just monitor any changes? Because now
we're gonna talk
mix.
about comms in detail, because
Yeah.
comms becomes an issue, not just for audio guys. Certain directors on what they expect
Yes.
from comms, certain productions on how,
Yes,
because everything works fine, and then the production begins and things fall apart.
yes,
But we were fine 5 minutes ago, but then once certain elements kick into place,
you
it's
land
all
up.
working at the same time, then you
Yes,
end up with a bunch of stuff. So we're going to spend a lot of time in the next show. I think our next show will be comms specific in
Cool.
terms of, because I know you're talking about different rings, and you got
Yeah.
RF, you got wired, you got 4-wire, you got all these different
Yes.
comm scenarios and solutions, and wireless comms. So we'll talk about that. But I think this has been very interesting just to get a bit of an idea of the structure, because it's not just one oak sitting there. I mean, until I park next to you and I told you not to touch faders. I remember that one. When was that?
a couple of summers ago.
Stop touching the faders. Because what I do is and you've seen with me when I park my OB next to you, the first thing I do is I take your left right back into my monitoring system,
Yes,
and I listen, because I've got the same monitoring that's in your vans,
yes,
and I'm listening to your desk output.
yes,
So when I listen to myself, it's me feeding you via your desk back to me. So then I can hear transitions, I can hear your effects, I can hear all that kind of stuff. So if I push my mix up and I look at my loudness, I'm like, it's not the same. Then I know that something's happened.
yes.
And I'm quite pedantic, and I think you've figured that out. If the fader's like one dB down, I'll be screaming at you because I'm trying to achieve a loudness type thing and
But
all that.
at the same token, as pedantic as that is, I've actually called you on comms and said, Krista, we off. I'm going to start fighting us back. And I will pull your fader, but because I've
But you
mentioned
tell
that
me
on comms.
exactly. If
I'm
you don't
not-
tell me, I'm trying to find the problem.
Yes.
Because I don't think you'd be the guy.
Yeah.
Because I've had guys that don't. They just go oops and they do that. Not that aggressively, but they don't say anything. And then
Yeah.
I'm thinking, what has changed?
Where's it?
And then I start fighting my own
Yes.
processing.
So,
Because if we're out, I've had shows where half an hour in, like we're a bit hot, I can start pulling back. I'd prefer me to pull back than you pull down my fader, because then I still get an accurate reading.
yes.
That's the thing. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like what I've done on some other shows is I've actually pulled back, but I've pulled back on the master.
On the outgoing.
Yeah, well, the one that you take,
Yes.
because it's not only your elements that you feed me.
It's everything.
It's VT inserts, it's
Yeah.
crowd.
My VT's driving me crazy sometimes.
Yeah, I mean,
You can
Well,
listen to a VT at neg 30 and it still sounds loud.
yes. But then I will say I'm going to pull back, but I pull back the whole mix
Yeah.
so that
So, and just to explain to people, we're talking about loudness. There's one of our episodes where we spoke to Tinas about loudness, and we'll repeat that again. Loudness is basically how the human ear perceives volume. In other words, just to explain it, if you're sitting watching a movie, you got your perfect volume set on your remote, and then an ad break comes in, and your house explodes. So you turn the volume down, and then, that's better. And then the movie starts, you can't hear anything, turn the volume up. Or you're watching a program, and you turn the volume up because you can't hear the dialogue, but the movie's loud. That means there's no proper loudness control, because you're perceiving things differently. So our job is to make sure that you set your comfortable listening level of whatever talk show or soccer or whatever you're watching. You put the remote down, and then as elements change, it's our responsibility to make sure that you don't grab the remote. And that's what we're talking about, loudness. But there's standards for that, which is neg 23 is an international ART 128. Well, there's a couple, but that's what we're working on at the moment, R128, which basically implies that your average over the duration of your show averages out at an integrated loudness of neg 23, with the true peak of neg 1 or point. I normally put it at 1 just so I still have a bit of breathing room. But we'll get into that stuff. But there's a lot more involved than what people realize sometimes.
yes.
although you got and content based has different expectation.
Yes.
People watching soccer have a different expectation to people watching The Voice or people watching The Psalmist or
Yes.
people watching a movie. You know, there's different engagement levels in terms of how loud you want. Some people, when they watch sports, that volume is cranked because they want to, like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm sitting alone at home. Some people, when they watch a music or an entertainment show, they'll drop the volume just enough because it's social. It's,
Yeah.
But then it's even more important to maintain your loudness. Otherwise, they lose stuff.
Yes.
You know. Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot we can talk about. And I told them that we're not going to get into stories because then we sit here for too long. As you guys can see, we read on all of our screens. There's some broadcasts happening now. We're gonna cut it off here for today. Light SA Red, you know, we support obviously massively in terms of that. We're all in that boat. 5 months basically of no work. Little bits and bit nuggets here and there, but not much. So tonight, look out. You're going to see quite a few buildings lit up red. Go to the social media web pages. Follow them now. They are live broadcasting, and have a look and see where you can support. But thank you, Paul, for coming. I'll see you in a month's time.
Yeah, sure.
You've been one of our faithful viewers. You even won a prize. Have you used it?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so join us next week. We're going to continue with our Talk GP shows in this time slot. We know we repeat it later, but it's just a bit more comfortable to shoot it in this time slot. So thanks for watching and thanks for coming.
Yeah, not a problem. See you guys next month.
Cool.